And so you'll be able to listen and view this later on through our website and through our YouTube page. So with that, if there, I think we've got most of our people, maybe 3 or 4 more, but we'll let those in as they come. And with that, please let me give the warmest welcome to Jodie Garrison and Tim Harris, our good friends that are going to be our presenters this morning. Welcome, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sean.
Yeah.
We're excited to work again with Grove City Chamber. We've had a long history dating back to Chuck Hirth, who was actually one of the founding members of the chamber. So it's nice to always hook up and work with the chamber. I'm not real sure whether we're going to end up on the lighter side of things or on the more serious side of things, but we'll find out as we go along here. We prepared some different areas. I'm going to flip to our next slide here, so bear with us as we work through this. But our real goals and objectives for the day is to really, we'll do a brief introduction here and then really get into what types of business financial support is out there, from loans to different other types of programs and mechanisms that both the federal and Ohio are using to try to help not alone businesses, but also you'll see there individuals as well. Then we want to talk about a lot of the business and tax issues that came out that are going to be either due. Some of them you'll see are actually opportunities for some retroactive type stuff. The other ones are more toward the future, and some of them are in place now. So we'll spend some time on those, and then kind of end up with, hey, what have we, or what have we hopefully learned through this whole process, and then what are some tips and things that we might be able to do as we move forward, making adjustments and preparing for the future. So that's our brief agenda here. So we're going to go through that, and just depending, we're going to try to leave plenty of time at the end for
Tim, you still there? I think we lost Tim. Jodie, you there? Okay, have we lost everybody here or just Tim and Jodie?
This is Melanie, I'm here.
Okay, oh, I think they just popped back in. Tim and Jodie, is that you? No, that's great. Well, everybody's here except for our presenters. So while we're waiting for them to log back in, I don't know how they got lost, but I'm sure they'll pop back in here in a minute. Why don't we, if you wouldn't mind, tell us your name and what company you're with, and how you decided to be on one of our Zoom calls. I'll just go down from the top if that's okay. Andrea, tell us who you're with and what you do. All right. Michael, how about you? Can you hear me?
I can.
Well, that's good news. How are you this morning?
I'm doing well.
Michael, tell us, your name and who you are, what you do, that kind of thing.
My name is Michael Phillips, and I'm a financial advisor with TSG Advice Partners. I'm a financial advisor, and so obviously things relative to tax issues and loan issues for businesses and all those kinds of things are important to me and our team that we can share with our clients. So that's my reason for joining the call this morning.
Okay, cool. Well, welcome. Good to have you back. Are you here or are you down south?
Oh, I'm here.
All right, that's what we like to hear.
Yeah.
Let's see. And how about, let me unmute Jeffrey.
Hello.
Hey, Jeffrey, how are you this morning?
Good.
Good. We're just doing a quick intro, if you would.
Yeah, I'm Jeffrey Tadlock Photography. This is the second Zoom call I've sat in on. I'd like to see what other folks in Grove City are doing in the area during these unusual times, see what little advice I can pick up. Just a little bit of a way to feel connected to people.
Yeah, we need that right now, don't we?
Yep.
And I might add, I believe we settled June 4th, is it,
Yep.
Jeffrey?
Yep,
That
June 4th.
Jeffrey Tadlock is going to be doing one of our Zoominars, talking, you can tell us, but a little bit about using photography and pictures in your business to help your business to be promoted. What all are you going to talk about, Jeffrey? Do you know yet?
Yeah, so I plan on talking about why better photos matter for your business, both on website, print materials, social media, and then also go over some tips how you can take your own images better, so you get better looking images off your phone, so you can have more material to put on social media, and then probably wrap up with a brief how to look better on a Zoom call.
Well, we can use that up this morning for sure. All right, well, cool. We'll look forward to that for sure. Just keep your eyes on our emails, everybody, and our marketing team gets that information out every week, and so you can sign up for those 1 week in advance. Let's see, how about Melanie? If I tried to unmute you, can you say hello and tell us who you are?
Hi, I'm Melanie Buller. I'm with Homes on the Hill CDC. We're a nonprofit corporation that does affordable housing development and real basic financial counseling for people who are trying to improve their credit scores, make better use of the financial resources that they do have, help them buy houses, those kinds of things.
Okay, wonderful. Well, we're really glad to have you on the call. Thank you. Looks like our hosts have come back.
Wow.
We lost you. So I'm not sure how much of my thing you actually heard.
Not very much.
Okay, Sean, do you have the
We do have the
shared?
Yep, the screen is up, and I hope
there you go.
guests can see that. Yep, there we go. I think that's about where we were.
Okay. I apologize. We're having some, obviously some technical difficulties here with our Wi-Fi staying connected. So again, we apologize. I'm gonna let Jodie jump back into the business financial support for the PPP loans.
All right. So the purpose of the PPP loans, which are the Payroll Protection Program loans, they've been available. We're in the second tranche of that, available to small business, nonprofits, self-employed. They're in the second tranche, which became available, I think it was last Monday. There are still funds available in that tranche. So they're saying if you want to apply for these loans, you need to do it at your bank. The bank basically is a preferred SBA lender. They can get you the application, whether it's online or just a fill-in kind of application. But the purpose of these funds was really to keep your employees on payroll. Again, you apply through your bank. There are certain payroll information you have to provide. We've had success in getting self-employed people. We've even partnerships where they are technically self-employed, but they have a partnership. Those have been successfully applied for also. Basically, it's a self-certification. So you say that you are going to use 75% of those funds for your payroll, and 25% can be used for rent, mortgage interest, utilities, health insurance for your employees, and so forth. And at the end of this process, if all the funds are used accordingly, then those funds are forgiven. We're still waiting on the specifics of how you actually get that forgiveness process, but you do have to keep pretty good records of how you're using those funds. You have 8 weeks from the time that you get those funds to use them. The last day that this goes through is June 30th. So the other issue is it has to do with whether or not these expenses that are used for this funding are going to be deductible. I do know that the IRS or the AICPA is pushing for deductibility of those funds, but we really don't know how that's going to come out at this point.
Yeah, let me just make one comment there. The whole deductibility of the funds, which you'll see here at the very top section, basically talks about similar to typically where we see it is in trusts when you've got taxable, non-taxable income, then you have to allocate the expenses accordingly. But back here on this other slide, you'll see, anytime you have a loan forgiveness, that potentially triggers debt forgiveness income. So in a lot of situations, there's exceptions to that rule, but the problem being that when you have debt forgiveness, that could be income to the entity. What the IRS and Ohio have both said is they have come out and said that the loan forgiveness under this PPP loan program will not be debt forgiveness income. So once that debt is forgiven, if you work through all the steps, you will not have debt forgiveness income. But then the flip side of what the IRS is saying, and they came out in this notice that you see here in 2020-32 and 2020-21, you can see where the IRS's position at this point is that any expenses that you pay with your PPP funds that have been forgiven, those are not going to be deductible at this point. And as Jodie said, the AICPA, who is one of our, obviously organizations we belong to, they are pushing hard to try to get that remedied for everybody. But at this point, technically, any expenses that you pay with the PPP funds would not be deductible. So definitely, we talk about a little bit later, but definitely stay tuned for that. Because again, that's going to be a big, not only a big accounting issue, but a big tax issue as well. And then one other final point there on the accounting tips. Jodie and I have been talking with clients, and we even actually got a loan ourselves. So one of the things we've recommended to people is to have some internal tracking, whether you keep an Excel spreadsheet or in your accounting system. Somehow make a note either in the memo section or somewhere, make a note that you're using PPP funds to pay for certain expenses. That way, when you get at the end of the year or the end of a quarter or end of a month even, you can kind of segregate or run a report that would show you the funds that or the expenses that you've funded with the PPP funds. A couple other accounting tips. We've had some clients take the PPP funds that they receive and stick them into a different account and then draw down on them that way. So again, a couple of different variations of things that we've heard about or that we have seen. So I'll turn it back over to Jodie to talk a little bit about current status of the PPP funds.
Yes, and as I said, we're in the second round of that funding, and there are still funds available in that second round, and you just need to, if you're thinking of applying for that, probably need to do that within this week, definitely. The way that you know that you've gotten the funding is as soon as you have an SBA application number, then you've been approved and the funding should just be direct deposited into your account in the next few days.
So now let's switch over from the PPP loans to another sort of financial support for businesses called the EIDL loans. It's EIDL. We've got what the acronym for that up there on the first bullet point there. So again, these are another form of loans that is available to small business, nonprofits, and even independent contractors. And the trick here is you have to have experience in economic loss to, due to the COVID-19 to be able to qualify for these particular types of loans. In this case, again, as we work down through the bullet points, the application here is done online at the SBA website. So they are taking those directly online. And my understanding is once you apply for that, you will receive a call. And again, I'm not sure how backed up they are at this point, but you will receive a call indicating that they've received your information and what the next steps are. That had previously, like with the PPP loans,
All right, can anybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Looks like looks like they bumped out again. I know that they were having some technical difficulties with email and internet service for the last few days anyway, and I think this is just part of that. So if we can wait, if you could hold on another minute or two, I'm sure they'll pop back in, and if not, we may have to try to reschedule this particular call. Hate to do that. Is everybody finding that you're using Zoom calls all the time?
Yes, we are.
Yeah, we are too. This is interesting information. I hope they can get back on here quickly so we can continue. All right, there we go. Welcome back. I think you back?
okay, we're back, I guess. So again, I apologize. We to go along with the whole COVID-19 stuff, we actually experienced a power surge from a lightning strike. So we've had a bunch of other challenges to deal with. So we're trying to work off of a hotspot, but obviously it's not working as well as we had hoped. Not staying connected. So
we didn't lose anybody. Everybody wants to hear this. So we're
okay,
good.
well, I apologize again. So when we talk about contingency plans, we're kind of telling on ourselves that we were not as prepared as we should have been. So, but back to the EIDL loans, again, those are not forgiven. They do have favorable terms, and you'll see what those are there. And you actually have a potential deferment from what we're being told of up to 4 years to be able to repay those. And you've got some different repayment periods as well. The advanced feature, the emergency, they're calling an emergency grant. That's a $10,000 amount, and that portion of the EIDL loan would be forgivable. So in the other bullet point there is you can actually have a PPP and an EIDL loan as well at the same time. A little different criteria, certainly different measurement formulas and whatnot as to how much you qualify for, but you can have both. And again, as with the PPP loans, very much the same as far as the eligible expenses. It just has a little extra caveat that expenses or obligations that would have been met had you not had the disaster. So again, the whole EIDL loan, you have to actually have experienced a loss. And then again, you can, all the other stuff. There was a special carve out for the agricultural business. Jodie, my partner, works a lot with farmers and whatnot. So she's up and
Had a question
knowledgeable about
today
that.
from a farmer that's applying for that today. So
yeah, there is a special carve out for that. So just be aware of that. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Jodie to talk a little bit more about just miscellaneous odds and ends from the federal and state. Again, just trying to provide assistance to businesses.
Right. As far as some other federal assistance, additional unemployment payments, $600. I do know there's been some issues in regards to the unemployment process, and hopefully it's getting a little better as far as those people that need that assistance. Also, the payment for employer Social Security and Medicare match and FUTA have been deferred for the remainder of 2020, and this can be you can actually pay those in installments at the end of 2021 and 2022. And I'm not sure if is that available if you are in the PPP. I'm not quite sure if it is.
I believe that one is, yes.
Okay.
There's
So-
a credit. There's a credit we'll talk about here in a minute that
That is not. Okay.
that you cannot be in the other loan program.
And then under the state, we have deferral of workers' comp monthly premiums. Unemployment has been expanded to self-employed employed people and others. Now, self-employed, that's been that was dictated by the federal government CARES Act, but it was up to the states to develop that software so they could actually do that, since that is not a normal thing for the states. So that has taken some time, but I do think it's up and running now. They are refunding some prior year workers' comp payments. Most people have been getting those already. So hopefully if you are in that situation, you've gotten your rebate basically, and it's been pretty significant for some employers. Ohio health insurers is required to allow employers to offer employees a grace period for their insurance premiums. And we have the Jobs Ohio Small Business Loan Program. There's also been some suspension of rent and eviction actions required of landlords and small businesses affected by COVID-19. And I believe that's a 90-day extension on those. To go along with that, if they have a mortgage with a bank, they're also giving them 90 days before they, a forbearance basically. And then if that goes beyond that, then they can start legal action at that point. But hopefully we'll get that taken care of.
No. Well, looks like we've lost them again. Oh dear. Well, I hope everybody can hang on again till they come back in. So sorry for this. This is the first real major technical situation we've had with all of these calls. Oh, there we go. All right. Did anybody else lose the screen that had been on?
Yes.
Okay. Makes me feel a little better. Sort of. They may not have realized that they got bumped off again and for a minute or so. I'm going to go ahead and unmute everybody. If you I think what we're going to do, because this, I'm afraid this is going to continue through the rest of the last half hour of this presentation. I'm afraid we're going to have trouble with this. I think maybe we'll try to reschedule this. I apologize for the problems. Like Tim said, they had a lightning strike at their office recently, and has really messed with their ability to connect and be digitally connected in every way. So with that, I apologize. We've got some other Zoom calls that are coming up here today, next week, Tuesday, barring any unforeseen circumstances. Laura Lanise, our state representative, will be joining us at 10 a.m. And here comes Jodie and Tim again. And Thursday, Mayor Ike Sage will be with us, so hope you can join us for that, for both of those. Welcome back. Welcome back. All right. Good morning again.
Okay.
So we're wondering, with your difficulties, if you would you prefer to keep going, or would you prefer to try to reschedule? Whatever you'd like is fine. Everybody's still on the call.
Okay. Well, let's try to get through what we can here. And we can either reschedule something else, for later. But since we've got people still on the line, why don't we continue, if that's okay, Sean?
Sure. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. So again, I apologize. We're showing our own unpreparedness here, I guess, to some degree, or at least
understand
response to issues. So in any event, let's go back to some of the state assistance. Again, the unemployment compensation was opened up to self-employed folks, subcontract folks, all different types of folks that it previously had not typically been qualified. There's a bunch of different insurance and different things here that I'll just let you read on those. Those are all, again, pretty much initiated by the governor and his team to give individuals help with respect to anything from medical insurance to different types of grace periods on insurances, trying to keep people connected. Maybe we should look up that hotspot access program. So and other assistance programs, as there's always has been for energy, food, utilities, so on and so forth. So now let's take a look here at some of the business tax issues, which again, I'll turn back over to Jodie. She's more of our tax expert, so I'll let her talk about some of those.
Okay, so in regards to business, basically what's happening is we had a change in the tax law in 2018. So for business, we're going back really to 2017. And that is when we were allowed to do net operating loss, carry back and carry forward at full amount. So we will be able to amend some returns for 19 based on some of these issues. If you're familiar with net operating loss carry forwards under the new law, you if you have income in a year, you can only carry forward to that particular year 80% of that loss. So you're going to pay tax on 20%, even though you have this net operating loss carry forward. Well, that is going back to 17. So that means that now we can carry forward the entire loss against the income, and you don't have to pay any tax in that current year. And the other thing that's happening is we will be able to carry back losses going back to 2018. So again, if we have clients who have income in previous years, we can go back and get that tax. So that is a really a benefit to our corporate clients in our small business. We also, I'm skipping around a little bit, but they're also repealing the corporate AMT and the new law in regards to the refunds in 2019. The due dates for the filing returns includes the corporate nonprofit benefit returns. Those are automatically extended to July 15th also. The other thing that's happened is the miscellaneous pieces of this is that under, so there were some rules in regards to interest expense limitations. Those are relaxed, so there will be no issues in that regard. We also are going back to where we're allowed to have faster write-offs for interior building improvements. And one of the things that's not listed here is that under the current law and even the previous, you could only deduct 10% of your adjusted gross or your taxable income for charitable contributions at a corporate level. They have changed that to 25%. So that is a pretty big, issue for charity and being able to deduct more or at a corporate level. And the other issue is that they have had suspension of alcohol and excise tax and certain things. And the single employer pension plans have until 2020 to fund the financial obligations, required obligations. Also retirement plan documents need amended if the distribution rules are accepted and made available to participants. So there's a lot of things happening at the corporate level, especially for at the federal level for corporations.
Carry on with the individual.
Yes, so for the individual taxes, we've basically, that we've had our due date extended to July 15th. That includes Ohio and most cities. Even if, there may be some cities out there that haven't done that, but I don't think we're gonna have any issues of penalty in regards to those. You can extend if more time is needed, but your tax does need to be paid by July 15th. This extension also includes trust returns. And I will talk a little bit about the rebate credits and the rebate checks, stimulus checks. I will tell you that most of those checks, so people that had direct deposit, most of those people received that money. If you didn't use direct deposit, you can go onto the IRS website. That has expired. That was May 5th, and you could put that information in. The checks are now going out, and I do know that I have some clients that have actually received checks. Those checks are based on 2018, unless you filed your 19 return, and they are so if you are single and your income is $75,000 or less, you're going to get your entire amount. If you're married, it's 150, and and head of household is 112.5. So there is a phase out, and it's basically at a rate of 5% of your adjusted gross income. So if you, there may be a phase out period where you're going to get a little bit, and then after a certain point, you get none of it. There are people that didn't particularly want to file their 19 return because maybe their income was going to be higher. So they wanted it based on 18. You get $500 per child 17 and under. And again, those can be limited also depending on your income.
Those have to be dependents, is that correct?
They have to be dependents, yes.
On your return.
The other issue we've had is if you have a dependent and they also, filed a return, but they filed based on the fact that they were being claimed by someone else, they're not eligible for the stimulus. That's been, an issue with people thinking, okay, well, why didn't they get their stimulus? Well, if you claim them as a dependent, even though they filed a return, they're not going to get one. So I think.
Going to the next one? Okay.
Yes.
Oh, you want to talk about this is another, we've had a lot of calls or had several issues on this. The first bullet point there, I'll let Jodie talk about.
Right. So you can actually, so we have many people who have gotten direct deposit or actually received a check for someone who's been deceased. This has been a real, we've had a lot of questions about this, and I guess in our opinion, we've said just deposit the money or keep the money, knowing that they might come back and ask for it back. I don't understand how they're doing that, because it's marked on the return that they're deceased, but we've had several of those. If you do not receive an advance and you were eligible for it, you will get a tax credit on your 2020 tax return. So you don't actually lose it, but it will be credited. And I will let Tim talk about the retirement provisions of that too.
Okay. Yeah, on the, again, individual tax issues. And again, we've had questions. I just talked to a lady a couple of days ago who asked, it's actually an investment advisor that we work with, and she had indicated that she had a client that called her and said, hey, I want to take money out of my retirement account because I don't have to pay any tax on it. So that's not exactly true, but the 10% penalty on early withdrawal was waived. So again, that just kind of points out the need to get good, solid information. So again, it is still taxable, although it does, it can get deferred as far as the tax repayment you'll see there out to 3 years. And actually, if you repay that within 3 years, then it would not be taxable. So there are, again, some ways around that, but the basic provision is the actual penalty, the 10% penalty on an early distribution would be waived. Again, a lot of discussion about the required minimum distribution. Again, that was actually waived. That's where you're over 70 and a half. That's still the right age, right, Jodie?
Could be 72.
We're now up to 72. So they changed that too, actually. I don't think that's on the slide too. So they increased the age where you have to start taking minimum distributions up to 72 from 70 and a half. And then they also waived the mandate that you have to have a minimum distribution in 2020. So that's a couple new items there. There's also some differences on the loans that are permitted. So again, I'll leave that for your reading. But again, the additional loan provision has to be, there's criteria that you have to meet, that you were directly affected by the COVID virus, or you had a family member or a dependent or something like that, that gets you to that qualification level to be able to do the loan feature that you see there. And we'll finish up here with a few other individual items. You can see the charitable provision, similar, well, not real similar, but they did change, as Jodie mentioned, the federal, or the corporate, the corporate charitable deduction. So they also put a provision in here for charitable deductions. It's above the line $300 deduction, and that's if you are not an itemizer. So you can still get a small charitable deduction, but again, every dollar counts. So those can add up to help for sure. There's some different healthcare provisions that they put in here to help folks out. The Hsa contributions, again, that's very similar to a retirement plan where you can make contributions after the year end and still count them for your tax year. So that's been pushed out to July 15th also. And then a couple other things that you'll see there that are changes to the healthcare. The unemployment, we've kind of talked about that for the most part. Just a quick reminder, unemployment comp is taxable. So, you know, the unemployment that individuals receive, you know, that is taxable. So be careful of that. You may want to, depending on how much you get and your other situation as far as your tax, you know, your tax matters, you may want to do some estimated payments or some other things to not get caught with an unexpected bigger tax issue. Want to kind of skip around. We're about quarter till. I want to leave plenty of time for questions, and hopefully our hotspot will not fail us again. So as we come toward the finish, but I want to bounce around a little bit here. Again, I'll let you read those. Again, we talked about contingency plans. You know, we're in one now with this hotspot, but again, it really forces you to look at, you know, personnel policies, your capital that you have, lending, IT, you know, all those different things. You really, you know, it really drew attention to where folks were kind of strong and had a good plan of action. And it really exposed some areas, you know, for us included, as well as a lot of our clients. So I think that's an important factor as far as what we've learned is where we're strong and where we're weak, and some of the changes that we might need to make. One of the big things that I always talk to clients with, I know Jodie does too, is, you know, we see people oftentimes as their business grows and as their income and just their whole situation changes, they tend to, you know, maybe increase their lifestyle and have some different luxuries that they may not have been afforded. You know, that's okay if you know, if that doesn't increase debt and other stresses, but a lot of times we'll see people have, you know, a home, a vacation home, maybe a boat, and some different expenditures that are just higher lifestyle type of things. If that's all covered by debt, that really puts a lot of pressure on the business to be able to continue to fund your salary or your bonuses to get to you at home. So staying lean and mean at home is also a good policy. So just wanted to point that out. And obviously, you know, cash and capital are still kings or queens. So, you know, having sufficient reserves, again, that's another good eye opener. You know, how much do I need? What should I have? Again, that depends on your own individual circumstances in your business and your lifestyle at home and all the things that we've been talking about. So there's no set answer, but again, I think that's something that we've learned as to, you know, how important having cash and whether you have capital or not, at least having access to that, to some sort of capital, is really, really important. A couple of other things that we've learned, you know, business relationships, our relationship with the Grove City Chamber. I'll give Sean a plug. It's been a great experience, and it really has helped us be connected and stay connected with businesses in our area. Again, your relationship with your banker, insurance, you know, all the different, and I've probably missed a few, so I apologize for whoever I might have missed, but these relationships are really, really critical when you're dealing with issues that we're dealing with. We know people who, just because of their relationship with their banker, was able to have a quick turnaround on like a PPP loan, where we've got other clients who are waiting and have been waiting just, because maybe, and again, I won't mention the name of the bank, but just because it didn't seem that their relationship was as good as the people who were getting some of these things processed through. So, you know, the other thing I didn't touch on, you know, earlier in the previous slide, I'll flip back for a minute. You know, the encouraging thing to me through this whole thing is just how individuals and businesses have shown the good old American spirit, and you know, manufacturing plants switching over and doing what was needed, and individuals giving, you know, businesses giving. And I just think it's real encouraging. Yeah, there's been a lot of negative stuff, but it also has pointed out to us, you know, just that is still alive and well. And I think that's important as we move through and start to heal and move forward and see how things go from here on. There will be effects, you know, we're not sure exactly what all those will be, but again, with our business, even though we had a pretty normal tax season, we actually are predicting sometime in the fall and the winter where we'll likely get hit hardest for our particular business. That's usually a little bit slower time for us, but again, it is coming. So we're trying to prepare ourselves on how to deal with that. And again, the other thing, especially with Grove City, I think, you know, the individuals, you know, they will support the community. That's kind of been proven over and over. So I think that's important, just to keep in the mind as we work through this and get on the other side of it. I'll flip over here to moving forward and some strategies there. Jodie, you want to talk about a couple of those?
Yes. So developing, you know, short-term plans to generate income, reduce expenditures, create savings, which sort of the same, you know, theme here. Basic, you know, develop your long-term 3 to 5 year plan to generate some income and reduce expenditures, include funding and reserves, and pay off debt. Consider renegotiating contracts and agreements, and reach out to trusted advisors for additional opinions. In regards to that, you know, like I said, we've been helping clients through this whole process. They've talked with their attorneys, they talked with their investment advisors, and we basically know most of those people as we work with these clients over and over, you know, through the years. But it is extremely important. Make sure your PPP loans, if you have those, are used to spend on the specific purposes that you said, and then we'll get those debts forgiven. Take advantage of all the new tax provisions that we talked about, personal and business. Discuss, you know, if you have any questions, you're free to call us with any questions in regards to that. We're going to be amending certain returns and getting returns filed, and no stimulus dollars will be advanced after December 31st, 2020. So keep that in mind also. Just continue to, you know, everybody's paying attention to the news, and I'm sure watching the governors and the president's responses to these things. You have to really keep up on it because it changes every day. And you know, even after we prepared these slides, which wasn't a week ago, things changed even in the last week. So it's something that, you know, you constantly have to keep up on. As you heard, probably Ohio went from a $200 million profit to a $700 million loss. They made some huge cuts this week. And it just goes to show you, it is a trickle down effect to all of us. And it will affect a lot of things, funding for Medicare, for schools, colleges. We're seeing all kinds of things. The other thing is that with all of these items that are happening, the scams are increasing. You have to be very diligent and talk to people about these things, because Fortunately, our clients call us when they think something is not right. But there are a lot of people out there that fall victim to these scams, and they are going to increase dramatically. Let's see.
The one bullet point there I'll just mention quickly is for your own, if you're with your company, I'm not sure who all the audience is, but for your own financial statements, just keep in mind that whether it's an audit, review, or compilation, there will likely be some additional footnotes that you need to get into those financial statements. Whether if you're dealing with a calendar year 12/31/19, you still will likely have some sort of footnote that you'll want to include with respect to subsequent events. Now, whether that rises to the level that you need to include actual adjustments or not, you need to work those out with your accounting firm. But just wanted to kind of note that there are some different things there on the financial side as well that need to be taken care of. So with that, I know we're getting close to time. We can be happy to answer any questions that's come through. If you have questions that you don't get in, feel free to contact us or work through the chamber. I know they're happy to serve their businesses. And Sean, we thank you very much for having us, and we apologize again for our technical difficulties and running to the end.
Not a problem.
That's something
Not a problem.
that's something we've got high on our list to deal with. So
Yeah, I bet you do. Can you guys hear me?
yes.
Okay, good. I unmuted everyone, so if anyone does have a comment, you're welcome to interject. But also, we did have one question. Someone said, just to clarify, when I file 2020 tax form, if I have a refund of $2,000 but have received a stimulus check for $1,200, would I only receive a refund then of $800?
No, you would receive your full refund. What we were referring to on the 2020 tax return is if you did not receive a stimulus at all or didn't receive the full stimulus, you could potentially get a tax credit and have an additional refund for that amount.
I think what they'll do is on the tax return or somewhere on a schedule, they will have tax credit, the new tax credit, whether it be $1,200 or $2,400, and then they will have a line where you can enter, advance payment received. So you would either get no credit at all if you receive the advance, or had you not received the advance at all, you would get the credit at that time. So in the past, the way they've done some of those advance credits, they've had total credit and then the advance piece, and then it would carry over and you would get the difference if there were any.
It doesn't reduce your refund, it would actually increase your refund.
Okay. I hope that makes sense to our person that asked the question. I don't have any other ones on the chat bot. I have unmuted everyone. If that didn't reach your phone somehow, and sometimes that does happen, you can hit *6 to unmute yourself. If we've got any more questions, we can take those real quickly. Otherwise, Tim and Jodie, thank you so very much. This is complex and new information for all of us, yourselves included. And so I can certainly say we appreciate you kind of breaking it down and making it kind of understandable and a little simpler. As you said, people can reach out to you directly at your office. Is that okay? And we've got the phone number here on the screen if you would like to do that. And you're certainly welcome, as Tim and Jodie said, to contact the chamber, and we can direct a question to them as well. So be sure to join us for some of the rest of our Zoom calls. We've got all kinds of fun things coming up, some of them a little more serious, some of them a little more fun. Don't forget, also super important, our farmers market is starting a week from Saturday on the 16th. We are having our farmers market, but we have redesigned it, and I'm telling you that has been quite interesting to work through. We've got about 30 some odd vendors that will be participating. Some maybe not the first week or two, but we've got most people committed. Everything from jams and jellies to produce to flowers to baked goods to sauces to pastas to beef, pork, bison and chicken and eggs, fresh eggs, so all kinds of things. What we'll do is we'll have you go to our website, which is gcchamber.org, and there will be a link to our farmers market page. You go there, you go directly to whichever producer or vendor or farmer you want to look at. You look at their website, you purchase there. They are bringing everything to us, and it'll be hand delivered with a tag on it for you. You drive up Saturday morning and we drop it in your car. It's that simple. So no touch, no breaking the distancing rules, and you'll still be able to get all the wonderful things that you always love from our farmers market. So we are extremely excited about that. Please join us for that. So with that, I think we can close. Thank you again, Tim and Jodie, so much for your time, and hope you get all your lightning strike issues fixed. That's tough. What a bummer, man.
Yes. Thank you very much, Sean, and thanks to Chamber. And I would highly recommend the farmers market. So from personal experience, you're making me hungry here. So
exactly. So thank you, everyone. We will talk to you soon.
All right. Thank
Bye.
you.
thank you.
Great. Thank you.